In 1965, the TARDIS materialised in a previously unexplored realm, grounded to neither time nor location. Here, our four intrepid explorers, no strangers to the otherworldly, would make a shocking discovery. They'd already encountered what would later become one of the most feared beings in the universe. They'd crossed paths with outlandish civilizations, travelled across history, and survived impeccable odds in the face of scientific impossibility. But they had never faced anything like this before. The perpetual loneliness of being trapped outside of one's own time track. For them, it was a slow-burning journey of realization. They were frozen, their clothes changed. They made no footprints in the sand, no object could be broken. On finding civilization, they hid, though hiding was unnecessary. Though this area was populated, nobody could see them, no sound could be heard, and no impression could be made on any form of matter. For all intents and purposes, they were ghosts. This near out-of-body experience may have been enough to have them retreating towards the sanctuary of their ship, were it not for one horrifying find. At first it seemed that they were untethered to this unfamiliar setting, but as it turns out, the opposite was true. Their destiny was fully intertwined with this place, and their destiny lay in imprisonment, to be showcased as lifeless exhibits. There was no way of knowing how or when these events would transpire, only that for every uncounted minute that passed, they were crashing further and further towards their fate, spiralling in a gravitational pull towards the indefinable centre of what we can only quantify as the fourth dimension. It was only at the end of this sombre dawning of the facts, when the pieces of time snapped together and exploded back towards their point of origin, did our beloved Doctor finally find cause to say the words, "We have arrived." And still, the most shocking moment was yet to come. Walruses! You've really got to smooth over those sharp edges, haven't you, Doctor Who? You really got to constantly remind me that this was a tea time TV show for families with certain expectations, and there was only going to be so weird that this story went. And the concept of weird is of course subjective, and you could also call the Doctor not only hiding inside an exhibited Dalek, but also impersonating this dreaded creature responsible for countless deaths as kind of weird, and also, well, is tacky the right word? Plus he says, "I am the master." I don't know either. So I guess I'd call the Space Museum a true game of two halves, because the way I got it figured, if there's one thing that has stood the test of time in the Hartnell era above all else, it's the minimalist approach to creating a high level of suspense, using some steady pacing, a strong amount of suggestion, and an effective music score. The odd visual effect doesn't hurt either. You gotta love the old "it's transparent" trick. I've previously waffled about the Edge of Destruction being really good at this, and the first episode of the four-part Space Museum serial does an amazing job too. It definitely nudges itself out of the more conventional concepts of time travel storytelling, in a way that the show hadn't really touched on before. Jump in the time track, eh? Well, you don't want to do that. Even the Doctor, a self-proclaimed wanderer of the fourth dimension, gets kerfuffled by that one. We also have Vicky Smart Susan Pallister explaining that time, like space, although a dimension in itself, also has dimensions of its own. In the following 3 episodes, titled Dimensions in Time, The Search, appropriately named because William Hartnell is nowhere to be found in it, and The Final Phase, we play catch-up as to how they end up in those glass cases. But a lot of it is about Morlocks fighting Zerons, with the Morlocks being a strikingly inept group of business-headed militant opportunists, and Zerons running around in jumpers like the challengers of the unknown, fighting for freedom and talking of revolution. You can tell there's some real tension between the two. Look at them being told off there for looking at that weird box for too long. Space Museum is all fun and games and has its fair share of shenanigans, adventure, and Ian behaving like a big fat banana. Do get a grip of yourself, Chesterton. You know, he actually says, "I'm afraid I'm no great expert when it comes to changing the future," yet you can't even unravel a cardigan, mate. He does show some basic wrestling skills though. Says a lot about how crap the Morlocks are. He outwits this one by throwing a pebble. In fact, Ian's immeasurable thirst for violence in this serial is uncanny all the way through. Whoa. I mean, I get it, I really do. Episode 1 was the build-up and the rest was the payoff. Finding out what lengths our travellers go to escape from the spiral of inevitability, which they do. That particular segment of the story begins with museum curator Governor Lobos having a big old moan about how bored he is on the planet Zeros. How do you think this guy feels, mate? He's got to listen to you. But anyway, it's these people who kickstart the cycle of imprisonment, by first capturing the TARDIS and then getting ready to embalm the Doctor for exhibition. I really don't feel comfortable saying that sentence. Anyway, let's talk about walruses. From a distance and in black and white, that shot looks like something from a Lovecraftian nightmare. Or that CGI effect people use where it's a human head but then it collapses into a big pile of bowling balls, you know the one. But no, it's a huddle of walruses. You can also say herd or pod, but I prefer huddle. The Doctor's having a great time irritating this guy by thinking up random stuff instead of giving out the information he wants. See, look, we've also got a penny farthing, and who the hell is that? Who is it? If you guys want me to make a mystery video on who that guy is, then let me know. I'll do it. I really will. Naturally, the Doctor and his crew try and constantly second guess their own decisions in order to change the future. Before long, the entire gang is separated and compromised. Meanwhile, the Morlocks display their fair share of infighting, which does make for some three-dimensional characterization, or at least it would if they weren't so flipping boring. Seriously, when they start talking, it's unbearable. Turns out Vicky is the one to break the cycle and cause events to change. Having made acquaintances with the Zerons and engaging in deep discussion over a round of Guinness, she is the one to inspire these guys to fight for their homeworld and start a riot. Stop daydreaming and start a fight, or words to that effect. Once they begin talking about being enslaved by the Morlocks and such which, you really start to see things from their point of view. The resulting conflict is a little more Adam West Batman and a little less Scorching of King's Landing, but it ends the same. The future has been changed. And nope, the Zerons don't turn evil last minute and imprison the Doctor and the crew themselves. They never really used to do twists like that. It's just changed. End of. That's it. As with many TARDIS-related mishaps to occur in the William Hartnell era, this all boiled down to a simple technological hiccup in the TARDIS. It's your fault, Clara. This thing here, which the Doctor refers to as this little thing, malfunctioned and the TARDIS crew were unable to arrive in real time until it clicked back into place. It's a bit of a fleeting explanation, some really nice space shots though. And now the Daleks have time travel, oh dear. But the Doctor does manage to nab a time-space visualizer, so we're all good. Overall, we can file this story under bold experiment, and while you're there, add the fourth dimension to the ever-growing concepts of time and space nestled in Doctor Who lore. The Space Museum gets credit for being the first to try out something like this. Doctor Who as a whole is a kind of ongoing experiment, forever breaking its own rules, and we've learned to accept that as part of the fun. Naturally, you'll go dizzy trying to find all the later examples in TV, book and audiobook form where timelines went a bit skew-if. There's probably about 1 million. Some of which will support the idea that somewhere in some dimension the Doctor and his crew would forever be trapped in these glass cases, and others which say nope, never happened. I can find no evidence that this haunting vision of the future was preserved in any form, but I still love the idea that this could still have happened and in some shape or form always did happen. I guess I would think that, having recently made a video about an alternate evil Doctor and having watched a fair wad of what ifs and Rick and Morty since that time. But remember this much. If there is a manifold of existence where this did happen, they'd have probably still escaped, because the Morlocks were dead stupid. What other time-related hiccups send your imagination running amok in Doctor Who? Sound off in the comments and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a good one.